Okay, everyone, good morning. How are we all? Monday morning, I always have to check the day, Tony. I do that all year, but especially at the moment when you've not really got a clue. It is Monday, and we're reflecting on a weekend Celtic game, and it's a Celtic game that we won convincingly to move further clear at the top. So in many ways, as much as everything at this time of year is kind of all over the place, there is a fair sense of normality as well.
Happy Monday, Hamish. There have been lots of happy Mondays in the past year, hasn't there? Here's hoping that trend continues in 2025, but good to see you, sir. Yep, I think everybody's smiling. I think yesterday was just one of those enjoyable days where I think the result was never really in question. It was a question of how many could Celtics win by, and I think people are enjoying the football right now. Obviously, the next game coming up, they're hoping to enjoy that more. But I mean, when Celtic dropped 2 points, I was making the point yesterday that if Celtic dropped 2 points on Boxing Day, all of a sudden we were playing and losing at Ibrox, and that the gap was reduced to 6. And as if by magic, as you just said to me off air, it's gone to 14.
Yeah.
Funny that, isn't it? So Celtic did what they had to do by winning those 2 games. Sandwiched in between the Rangers game against Motherwell and St Johnstone. Rangers didn't win either of those games against St Mirren or Motherwell. So take what you want out of that. But it's been a wonderful 2024. And as I say, here's hoping it can continue into next year. And there's no reason why it shouldn't.
Yeah, I think that's a big feeling for me, Tony, is that as much as we're enjoying great times, and at times you kind of have to pinch yourself to an extent with how well the team are playing, and the fact that the vast majority of times we watch Celtic play these days, we get a performance, we get goals, 4 more yesterday, and obviously we're like so far clear. I mean, it's ridiculous that you're 14 points clear at this stage of the season. But I think like going into 2025, the feeling is that this is going to continue, and if anything, Celtic are only going to get better. It's not as if like this is like the peak of this Celtic team.
No.
It just feels to me, listening to what the manager has said, and we can touch on that today, that we're going to look to improve the squad in January. We're now just a couple of days away from the start of the January transfer window, so we can get into all of that stuff again. And no, it's just massively exciting. Yesterday was good. I thought it was a really good performance. Probably the best performance we've had in a wee while. I know St Johnstone are poor, really poor, but they were pretty defensive, and we get that most weeks anyway. And I just thought right from the start, the kind of the tempo was good yesterday.
Yeah, and these are special times. You have to enjoy them, Hamish. Unprecedented special times watching Celtic. 2 domestic defeats in a calendar year, as you pointed out with your stats yesterday, which was very good article and very good graphics. So well done to you for that. But you have to enjoy this. You're living in a time when it's special to be a Celtic supporter. You have I say it all the time, you have an elite level manager at the helm. You have a group of players who you just trust, and you are bonded with them, and your moods are intrinsically linked to the fortunes of this football club. But your mood has been all year glorious, really. And yesterday was just a kind of, you went yesterday saying, okay, St Johnstone on a poor run of form. I think we'll win this game. Entertain me and make me smile. And I don't think any Celtic supporter could argue with what the fare that was served up yesterday. I think even Simo Valakari said, even in the 89th minute, they were chasing us down and they were pushing. And I think Brendan Rodgers was asked that in his press conference about Simo Valakari's comments. And the manager said, it's what I demand from the players. Brilliant. If that's coming from the top, I mean, that's a sensational attitude, even in the 89th minute. And you notice when Dyson Maeda came on, Ryan pointed out yesterday, first thing Dyson Maeda did when he came on was chase down somebody. He was straight on the back and he just chased somebody down.
That's how he's taking in the bells tomorrow night. He's running down Buchanan Street. It's just what he does.
Yeah. But again, coming from the top, and you say to yourself, well, that's why we're enjoying special times. That's why, because and everybody's bought into it, and all these players that come on and make that impact. And we're also starting to see what we thought we'd we bought with Arne Engels. Yeah, you've just started a comment there, right? And that's what we wanted from Arne Engels. And lots of people saying, oh, people were getting on his back. We weren't getting on his back. We were asking him to produce more. There's a difference, because the manager felt the same way about Arne Engels, took him out the firing line. The biggest question you had at the cup final was, why is an £11 million signing not playing? There's your answer. Manager's taken that heat and said, look, the decision's on me, but you are a footballer. You don't have to prove anything, but you just need to get used to the rough and tumble and the style of Scottish football. And once you do that, you'll be fine. Because a lot of what you've seen of Arne Engels in the past couple of games is what you saw in the first few games. And then it tapered off a fair bit, didn't it? To the point where the manager brought him out of the team. And that's fair enough. So the manager was clearly seeing what others were saying. But I think some of the criticism was ridiculous, to be honest. And the manager pulled that out a couple of times, didn't he?
That's just these days. It's not going to change these days. I mean, everyone's so reactionary about everything, and I include myself. In terms of certain things, making judgments on players. It's just the way things are now, and it's totally ridiculous. Because you look at someone like Engels, who came in, made a fast start, and went slightly off it, and has now come back. And I don't think anyone's massively surprised, to be honest. He was taken out of the team. Just for a few matches, good management. He's still coming on in games.
Yeah,
he's still coming on in games, but he just kind of a wee recharge, take stock of where you're at, and get him back into the fold, ready to go again. And I thought yesterday he was excellent. He was involved in virtually everything good we did. For me, it was his confidence levels. He's clearly back as a confident player.
I think the Motherwell performance was a breakout one when he got man in the match. He's now got back-to-back man in the matches. And I said to Ryan, go and challenge yourself and win the man in the match again at Ibrox on Thursday, because these are the games where people make the judgments, isn't it, really? And so, but we're seeing we're not seeing anything that we didn't know Arne Engels had in his locker or existed in Arne Engels. It just deserted him ever since his good start. And everybody was at pains to say, what's happening here? What's the matter? And I know it takes time to settle. I get all that, and he's a young guy, but he's also an old head and young shoulders. And when he carries himself like he has the last couple of games, he's a class act. And I think that's what the manager saw as well. And he just sort of thought, right, do you know what? It's not happening just now. So take you out the team. And he did it for his own. And that's what I was seeing with Engels. I was thinking, there is a player there. So what's happening here? Let's get to the root of the problem. He's put his arm around him. He's had a word with him. And he's propped up his confidence levels. And then the boy's got his confidence back again. And he is, he's doing what everybody thought. Nobody ever doubted his ability as a footballer. I certainly didn't.
Yeah, I also just, the final point on Engels and generally speaking, I just think when things are going so well, it's probably kind of human nature to always have to have something that you're maybe picking some sort of fault in, because it's probably more than anything, it's a bit boring just talking about how amazing everything is, and you always want to have something that can be improved. I just think, I genuinely think the amazing thing is you would look at Celtic now, certainly on the pitch under Brendan Rodgers, and I really can't find any fault anywhere at the moment, if I'm totally honest. I'm so encouraged and so positive about where this club is heading under Brendan Rodgers. And a year ago, Brendan Rodgers, at the start of this year, Brendan Rodgers had his real critics, and I think the job he's done over the last year to take the squad and the team from that place where it wasn't a good Celtic team a year ago. We were a tough watch a year ago. We had a lot of players underperforming, a squad filled with kind of players who didn't look to have the quality, a lot of players maybe from the Postecoglou era who weren't seeming to be able to do it anymore. And Brendan Rodgers has somehow galvanised the entire squad and turned it into, for me, potentially the best Celtic team of the past couple of decades since Martin O'Neill. We'll wait and see whether that translates to actually achieving something major in Europe and clearly getting to the knockout rounds and potentially around further we'll find out relatively soon how that goes. But it's a massively exciting team, and I think Brendan Rodgers just deserves so much credit. I mean, what a manager, what a job he's done.
But it's there for the taking, Hamish. There's a chance to do something special this season, like get to the knockout phases of the Champions League, and then you move the goalpost further and think, can you get to the last 16? You know, you're not so much getting ahead of yourself. It's just that ambition. There should be no limit to Celtic's ambition. And then the manager said yesterday they're going to go again. He was asked about adding goal scorers and says, yes, like to add goal scorers. Be afraid, be very afraid, because he has worked wonders. He's turned, and I was always an advocate of Brendan Rodgers coming back, and I pointed that out. I pointed out the elite level managerial stuff. I think everybody's seen that now. The way he's turned this team around, the way he told everybody, you can write your narratives, we'll write our own. He told everybody, this is when Celtic come alive. I'll see you in May. A confident man who knows football inside out and confident in this group of players, who loves working with this group of players, and he wants to add more quality, and he's brought in that sprinkling of quality where you never ever thought you would see the day when Celtic would spend £11 million on a player. And that's not to say that ceiling won't get shattered either in the coming windows. So just everything about the club right now, on and off the park, it's working in tandem, and it's brilliant. That's why we're smiling so much, and we're enjoying it, and we're enjoying everything about it, both the manager and what the players are producing.
Yeah, much to unpack from yesterday's game.
Yeah,
another thing I've been thinking earlier. Celtic were good yesterday, right? But I didn't think it was probably wasn't in our top 10 performances this season. Genuinely, it was a good performance, but we still battered. And I know St Johnstone are struggling, worst team in the league, etc. But we still battered them 4-0. And it just felt like a kind of run-of-the-mill 4-0. That's 2 4-0 wins we've had in a row at Celtic Park. A 4-0 is a thrashing. We've had 2 of them in a row at Celtic Park. And it just feels par for the course for this team. I really think they're setting an unbelievable level of consistency. No one else can deal with it. So I'll go through a few comments just on various topics. My ball saying, incredible year for the boys. Many of the wins have come from the team's resilience. Brad Ladd still feels like we have another level to hit. Hatate has another level. Engels has another level. Kuhn could make better decisions sometimes as well. Kyogo has to hit the levels we have seen. Exciting. I agree totally. I think, you look at the players, a lot of them are young, a lot of them are only going to get better. Hazel totally gets your Brendan Rodgers elite manager quote. His man management is, whatever that is, there is no way he will allow this team to get far ahead of themselves. Excellent. And Christopher, morning guys, only real criticism I had of the team yesterday was that we didn't score more goals. It could easily have been double figures. If that's the only criticism we've got, that's not a bad place to be. Some mad random person, I think Engels was given license to roam, which benefited him and the team as a whole. I thought he did appear on the right-hand side quite often in the first half, and I really thought he, Kuhn and AJ were forming some nice wee patterns and wee triangles and really looking dangerous every time those three were over on the right.
I pointed it out. The thing for me was that ability to ghost into the penalty area unmarked. And he was picking the ball up and he peppered that goal with shots. There was one in particular when he was stretching where he might have even been better trying to take a touch and then steady himself. But the one off the side netting was unlucky. The keeper's made a great save from his first time shot that's cut back to him. So he's getting in those positions, which he wasn't previously. So that Motherwell performance, as I say, has been his breakout performance, and now he's playing with all the confidence and swagger in the world, which is great because it was there. We saw it against Slovan Bratislava, we saw it against Rangers in the first game at Celtic Park, and Celtic won 3-0. And so, I have no qualms about Arne Engels. Never ever had any qualms about him being a footballer, but that darting into pockets of space in the penalty area undetected, you will profit from that so much. And then also his delivery for Kyogo's second goal. It's just, you cannot defend against that. You just can't. Because when it's on the money like that, you expect Kyogo to score a bread and butter goal like that, because Kyogo's another one who can dart away from defenders. And I was delighted for him personally yesterday, because he went 4 games without scoring and 4 game goals out and all that, and you're just like, come on. And that's, but it's always there. You cannot rest at peace for a minute when Kyogo's on your shoulder. And, and great, because he likes a goal against Rangers, doesn't he? So I'm quite chuffed at that.
He does. And I think he'll probably start at Ibrox as well. I thought he was more involved yesterday. And when I say that, I don't think that's like a slight on Kyogo in recent games. I think it's more on the service he's been getting. And I just felt yesterday there was more of a willingness just to kind of put dangerous balls into the box for whatever reason. Now, it may have been the fact that, as we just spoke about, Engels on the right-hand side was doing a lot of that, and he's really good at those kind of crosses into the box. But obviously, Alistair Johnson does similar, and at times Johnson and Engels kind of look a wee bit similar in terms of stature when they're whipping the ball in, and obviously Kuhn can do it as well. But I just felt, obviously second half he got his goals, but even in the first half, even though he didn't have any major chances, Kyogo, I just felt he was kind of closer to things and more involved in the game generally. And suddenly you feel quite excited about Kyogo on Thursday.
I think as well that the games where people say he wasn't involved, I think it's a lot to be do with the service that he's been getting, and also the way teams have been playing against him are trying to play against Celtic, just no ambition. So they're just rigid. It's like 4-4-1 stuff, isn't it? Or sorry, 4-5-1 or whatever, 5-4-1. Just that 2 banks, and that's really hard for somebody like Kyogo who likes space. If there's no space to run into, and if you've noticed before, if you do like that kind of, what Sky used to do, player watch with Kyogo, he's still making those kind of runs. But when space is denied you, it takes a very astute player to click onto that straight away and see it and play it. He got one chance against Dundee United when Adam Ida played him in brilliantly, and he miscontrolled the touch and the chance was lost. But for me, that's the Kyogo of old. He's now starting to manoeuvre himself and get himself into those spaces again. So I was more than delighted to see him score twice. And even the header that he scored, he's following that up like all good strikers.
Yeah.
Bernardo's should have scored, but he didn't. But Kyogo's there for a diving header. And so that's what you're talking about, that kind of doing Kyogo-esque things, that striker instinct to get in there, to get that half-yard play in the shoulder. And I'm all for that, because when the ball goes in there, if it's on the money, he'll be there. Or if the ball hits the goalkeeper or hits the post or rebounds off somebody, he'll be there, because that's what he does. So I was happy for him. And, it's the rough with the smooth with Kyogo, isn't it? He's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't at times, but he still sticks to those behaviours that he's made his stock and trade with Celtic. Yeah, he can be quiet, but I think a lot of that has to do with the service and also the way teams just now set up against Celtic, where they try and deny him space.
Because it's crazy, because we've had obviously such an unbelievable season up until this point. We scored, I think, did I see earlier, we scored 52 goals in the league?
Yeah.
Conceded 4. With that.
Conceded 4, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. But we've kind of done all of that and got all our other big wins, the Cup and the Champions League, without either Kyogo or Adam Ida really catching fire this season. And what I mean by catching fire, in that, a double in this game, double, hat-trick over a space of 4 or 5 games. They've obviously both chipped in with goals. I think Kyogo's maybe get 10 now.
Kyogo's at 10, he hit double figures for Saturday, yeah. I think the top goal scorer Kuhn with 14, isn't it? So.
Right. That's a hell of a total as well. But can you imagine this team, how good we've been if someone like Kyogo suddenly goes in one of those scoring runs, doubles every game for 5 or 6 weeks, like we know he can do?
But you don't put it past this team and those players to achieve that, do you?
No.
Either Kyogo or Ida to come on and score goals. And so that's the thing. That there's improvement in this football team. The manager knows it too. Celtic won yesterday with a second gear performance, didn't they? Because they didn't have to up the gears. So you say to yourself, right, that's good, magic. So when they do up the gears, you think that, I think one of the commenters said, there are other levels for players to go. You mention them a lot as well. Hatate for me yesterday was excellent too. In fact, the whole midfield were excellent.
The midfield was good, yeah. What do you make of that, given that McGregor wasn't there? A lot of people reading a lot of stuff into that.
There was a dynamism there, wasn't there, about the midfield, because they were all young, hungry players. I get all that, but McGregor is still the fulcrum of the team. When Hatate plays like that, he's arguably the best midfielder in the country, with the exception being McGregor, right? A lot of people might want to see that as your midfield moving forward. Maybe that's the succession planning that Brendan Rodgers talking about, because Callum McGregor can't go on forever and ever. He's entering the twilight of his career. We accept that, but he's still the captain, the heartbeat, and the fulcrum of that Celtic team, and you would not go into Ibrox without him. But it's nice to know that on days where you think you can rotate McGregor and give him a rest, that you can, and those three guys can be trusted. And you've also got Luke McCowan snapping at people's heels as well to become a regular in that side. So I think the Celtic midfield is as strong as it's been for a long, long time. They're the 5 best midfielders in the country. There's no other midfielder you'd want in that Celtic team, is there? From anywhere else.
There genuinely isn't for me, no.
You know, you can argue possibly Lennon Miller, but again, I'll leave that up to the individuals if you've watched enough of them. So, and that's the call with that, isn't it? So, I was really happy yesterday about what those 3 guys brought to the table. You know, Hatate ball for Kuhn for the opening goal was just brilliant. Once Kuhn picks that up, you know where it's going. It's not going anywhere else, right? There's an air of inevitability about it, but
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you felt the same way, because I did. In fact, I said to myself when he got the ball, goal. And he's like, I think it was a 2v1. He had Kyogo with him and there was one defender back plus the goalkeeper. It was a great chance, but it wasn't like an absolute certainty. Like, it wasn't a sitter. It wasn't a Rangers at Hampden certain to score 5v4 or whatever it was. But he was so ruthless the way he took that on. It was brilliant from Kuhn.
I'll tell you how good it was, right? Hatate swivel and spin and pass is great, but Kuhn's finish is that good. The goalie goes the wrong way.
I know, it's like a penalty or something.
And I'm just like, what's he done? And he has rattled it. He's rattled it from 12 yards. I mean, when you see the replay, it is 12-yard shot. So it's still fair enough. It's not as if it's like he's ran into the 6-yard box, but he's rattled it, and the keepers went that way. And I'm thinking, where are you going? So he's done him completely, but still at speed and managed to keep control of the football. But it's all in the pass, isn't it? And that's what we love about Hatate. And then his pass for Bernardo, which ended up with Kyogo scoring, was brilliant as well. So he's, when Hatate's playing like that, he's untouchable. And that's what, again, it's the frustration with Hatate, and it was the frustration with Engels, wasn't it? Because when the two of them are like that, you just say, right, do your thing. And that I think that's why Celtic supporters were getting, that's where the nitpicking comes in. But I thought, as I say, yesterday was just enjoyable. Can they replicate that at Ibrox? You'd like to think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Callum McGregor's going to be in the team for Thursday, so we don't have to have that debate. I know it's an interesting talking point in terms of some people say we're better with McGregor, some people now say we're better without him. It's not much of a talking point because Callum McGregor is going to be the first name in the team sheet for Thursday, and I personally feel rightly so based on the experience he has in this fixture and just the fact that he never lets us down in these derby matches ever.
For me, it's going to be Engels, Hatate, and McGregor.
I actually agree with that, and that's the team. That's the team I would go with. You could argue maybe Harsh and Bernardo, maybe Harsh and McCowan, but I think just given certainly Engels would be in my team based on how he's played the last couple of games. I think especially those legs he has, those wonderful legs in the derby fixture will be important. And Hatate. The only thing I would say is that Engels has never played at Ibrox. Does that come into the manager's thinking? Bernardo obviously has.
Yeah, I'm going kind of yellow jersey and 2 back-to-back man of the match performances. I think alongside McGregor, Engels is your second name in the team sheet. So I just think he wouldn't want to damage his confidence levels because they're up there now.
Yeah.
I think
he'll start. Yeah.
I think
Hatate starts as well.
Still think it's very harsh on Bernardo, as you say. But if it's not happening for Engels, then I think we've got Bernardo to come on there and, and do his thing, because he can and has done it before. So it's just my thoughts. I could be wrong, but I always try and read things and, second guess and preempt to manager and stuff like that. But because that's what we do. We do our predicted 11s, that kind of stuff. But yeah, and initially you might have thought it would have been a game for Adam Eder, but it's a game for Kyogo now, isn't it?
Absolutely no doubt about that. But he's just going to play his part in the game as well.
And I think that service to Kyogo from Engels against St Johnstone, that's the killer ball. You just can't defend that. And if you can use Kuhn and Engels and Maeda to do that at Ibrox, and you look at that and you think that's a Rangers defence that can be got at. That's what I think. And I think that's what could give Celtic a lot of joy at Ibrox. They can be got at.
I don't know. I feel strangely relaxed about Thursday, and it'll be the usual story. The nearer we get to kick off, the more the nerves will come in. But I don't know. I can't remember going to Ibrox and feeling this good about our chances. But listen, the team still have to bring their A game. Jerry wants to talk just briefly about Alex Vai, who was brilliant yesterday. I thought Vai did have a good game. Again, we can have a debate about that. I think Greg Taylor will start. I'm pretty sure Greg Taylor will start, because I think that's what Brendan Rodgers does when it comes to the big games. But I think Vai, for me, would be who I would put at left back at Ibrox, genuinely. I think he's a better option at the moment. I think he carries the ball better. And obviously, I think Greg Taylor's had a few kind of rocky moments in recent weeks. So Alex Vai for me, but I think it'll be Greg Taylor.
Yeah, it would be Alex Vai for me as well. I think Greg Taylor's free to speak to any club from today onwards, isn't he? His contract runs out on June the 30th, so that's officially 6 months, isn't it? So right. I think it's from today. I think that's how these things work. I like what Vi brought yesterday. Again, does he go with experience that Greg Taylor's played there before? But listen, I'm happy with either or, but my own preference would be Vi. So I really like Vi, and if they're not going to bring Kieran Tierney back, then they have to do something about Vi and ask that question, as I always say, a person of interest. So it's one of them.
Do you know what I see him in a big starting a big game, the big pressure game to really see if he's got it in a big game at Ibrox.
I'd love to, but he did it for me in Atalanta and Bergamo.
Yeah, fair point.
So I have no qualms about throwing him in. I don't say, it's not too big a game. Does it get any bigger than Atalanta and Bergamo when you've been crushed 7-1 in the previous weekend, and you go there and you keep a clean sheet and you're part of that team? So no qualms at all about throwing Alex Vai in, and just the standards that he's been brought up in La Masia Academy. That alone tells you that you're good enough to play in a game at Ibrox. And also, that relaxed frame of mind that you're talking about, you're playing to go 17 points ahead of Rangers on January the 2nd. Worst case scenario, you lose, you're still 11 points behind. Right? That's the worst case scenario. But you are playing to effectively lay down a marker and say, we're the best team in the country. Here's why. Get out there and enjoy that. And I think that's what the manager has to stress to the players now. A week ago you were playing allegedly to have your lead reduced to 6. You had a chance to go and make it 17. Go and grasp that. Show people how good a team you are. The showcase is on the game. It's been beamed to millions around the world via Sky Sports. Just show why you're a good team. Enjoy the occasion. This is a time when you would turn around and say to them, this is an occasion to have a bit of fun, because you're a good team. You can handle this. And Rangers are in the last chance saloon, aren't they? And in their desperation to win a fixture of this magnitude, again, it could be their undoing, because it's you're anxious for revenge. You're anxious to grasp onto anything, and you're desperate. So I think that plays into Celtic's. If Celtic box clever, Celtic can really go to Ibrox and enjoy an occasion similar to the occasion when Martin O'Neill's team went and Lubo scored twice. Celtic won 3-0 and Henrik Larsson gets his 50th goal of the season. I think, if all goes to plan and Celtic turn up, but they have to turn up. Remember, you're playing the only team in the country that's capable of beating you domestically, I think. And even then, that's a tall stretch because they're just not at the races.
Anyone at the moment, are they?
Well, that's the thing. They're not at the races at the minute, but you can't go in thinking this will be a doddle or this is that, and the next thing you know, you're the bounce of the ball away, a freak goal, a VAR decision, a refereeing decision from, spewing basically because it goes against you. So you need to ward against these things, I guess. Well, you can't really ward against these things, but you're a good team. The manager will pick the team that he thinks is capable of going there and getting a result. And I think this is the game where you tighten the screw and stamp your superiority and emphasise that gulf that exists between the two teams now, both financially, off the pitch, and, in terms of style and, consistency on it. Just my thoughts. Could be wrong.
I think it's a good image that you paint there, because I think Celtic are going, the word I would use to describe the team, we'll find out for sure on Thursday, but I think the team are focused going to Ibrox. They're fully focused on what the task is, and the task is going to Ibrox and win, and forget about draws, forget about 14-point leads. None of that matters to the team. It's all about winning the game on Thursday. And I think on the other side of the city, I think they're not focused at all, or if they are focused, they're focused on the wrong things. And you know what's going to happen. I guarantee you, when they're in any sort of doubt and struggling in a game like this, they're going to come out kicking, and that's what Rangers are going to do on Thursday. So, especially with their fans behind them, because what gets a disgruntled fan base on your side in Glasgow? Getting into your rival. So I think as long as we deal with that and show our class, I feel good about Thursday. But as a few people have pointed out, listen, it's a huge game. They're all huge. But even if things don't go to plan, and I know it's easy to say before the game, but even if things don't go to plan, worst case scenario, you're 11 points clear. We're going to be absolutely fine. It's just a case for me of going, and someone said earlier, it's kind of bragging rights. That's kind of what's on offer here, because we've got such a healthy lead in the league. It's basically just a case of keeping them down and maybe putting the final nail in Clement's coffin as Rangers manager. We're having a discussion before, like, have Celtic, or when was the last time a derby sacked a Rangers manager, or even a Celtic manager? I can't remember it happening unless I'm missing something obvious. It could well be a thing that comes into play later in the week.
And on that focused point, I always say listen to the manager, right? And the 14 points, 17 points, it doesn't matter, right? These are things in the ether, right? That's out there.
Yeah.
The manager prepares his team for every Rangers game as if it's his first time experiencing that fixture. That's the focus that you're talking about. So it doesn't matter if it's 14 or 17 or -3 and you're trying to get there. You are going there to win a football match, and he always says he prepares them as if it's the first time he's experienced a fixture. And that, for me, is a big difference. How you can replicate that, and how, having experienced 20 of them already is beyond me. I wouldn't know how to do that, Hamish, but he does. And again, I go back to that's what makes him such an elite level manager, because he's got the ability to do these things. It's why he's been successful. 16, drawn 3 and lost 1 of those 20.
Yeah, sounds right.
So he clearly has the knack of getting his teams focused for a game. A game of this magnitude, as if it's the first time that they've ever experienced a fixture. And everything about this fixture on Thursday is stacked heavily in Rangers' favour in terms of the crowd. There's no Celtic supporters there. But since that's came into being, it's been Celtic that have been more adept at handling that. It's funny, that, isn't it?
Exactly. For the sounds of things, it doesn't sound like Rangers will have too many supporters at Ibrox on Thursday. So we'll keep a. I mean that in two ways. I mean that because I'm hearing they might have some empty seats, and also because they might not necessarily be supporting their team. It might turn out to be the opposite. Anyway, Tony, let's leave it there. We've got plenty more to chat about this week. If you've enjoyed this video and fancy supporting the channel that little bit more, and you can get notified whenever we go live, please consider subscribing. It really would be appreciated. We appreciate all of your support. I think we're doing a video tomorrow night. It's not going to be live. I know that because I'm recording in the next 10 minutes. But we're going to put that out for you tomorrow night, so there's something, so it doesn't interrupt my New Year's celebration. Because my life is the most important thing here. My social life. Anyway, Tony, thank you. Have a lovely new year, and I'll catch up with you in 2025 for more chat. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll chat to you very soon.